you all for showing up tonight. I'm pleased to introduce your next state representative for District 92, Chadwick White.
How are y'all this evening?
Good.
Thank you for being here today. It's truly inspiring to see so many friends, neighbors, and fellow Tennesseans gathered in one place, united by a shared love for our state and a commitment to its future. Also want to give a special thank you to my wonderful fiance, Samantha, for supporting me through this journey and helping me so much along the way. Without you, none of this would have been possible. Thank you to my parents for helping set up and being involved as well. My children, it's very special. Thank you all. I'm honored and I'm humbled to stand before you as a conservative independent candidate for District 92 in the Tennessee General Assembly. I'm a lifelong Tennessean, born right here at Baptist Hospital and raised on a horse farm in College Grove. Growing up in this community shaped who I am today. Grounded in hard work, integrity, and a deep respect for the land and people I call home. I have held many jobs that represent the backbone of our society. Construction, managing corporate food operations, sales, and now I'm running my own personal training business. I also competed as a champion bodybuilder. Each of those experiences have taught me to be coachable, humble, and willing to work alongside those that are strong where I'm weak. I admit plainly, I don't know what I don't know, but I'm ready to listen, collaborate, and debate openly, and remain steadfast in my commitment to integrity and transparency. My greatest concern is for my children's future, and the future of all Tennesseans. I have 3 children, ages 19, 6, and 3, 1 grandchild who just turned 1, and 3 stepchildren, ages 29, 12, and 10. 3 of my children attend our local Tennessee public schools. This gives me a personal vested interest in their future and reforming our education system, not just for my family, but for yours as well. We must break free from the elite Rockefeller education design, a system built on push a button and don't ask questions, where students are expected to regurgitate knowledge from a narrow product-driven narrative. This system stifles critical thinking, the very skills that lead to enlightenment, innovation, and liberty. The elites fear your questions, but questioning your government is the most American thing you can do. It's the foundation of our republic. After being removed from the Republican ballot, I want to make one thing clear. I am not backing down. I want to serve the great people of Tennessee. Our current leadership has proven to be cowards, lacking any real plans to improve the lives of our everyday citizens. The elites control our lives, from high taxes to intrusion on our private property rights and our failing education system. Our local farmers and our small businesses have been hit the hardest. Their plan is to turn us into a renter's market. No real ownership of tangible guaranteed products, only endless services designed to keep us paying forever. We must break this cycle. We must return to real ownership, because real ownership is real liberty. I stand with we the people, and by that I champion our local farmers, our small businesses, and our home ownership, because owning your livelihood is the foundation of freedom. I want to abolish the property tax. If you're still paying for it, you don't truly own it. I want to reduce budget spending by cutting unnecessary programs and appointed positions in favor of elected ones. I would like to introduce a water treatment bill. I have it up here up front, that would support on-site water treatment and disposal and protect well use for agriculture, viticulture, and horticulture. I want to reform our education standards by returning to basic arithmetic and writing. I want to eliminate Common Core and reintroduce agriculture and vocational classics, along with civics, ethics, and home economics. We need to emphasize how our republic was formed, how government should be managed, and teach budgeting, modern living skills, cooking, basic nutrition, life skills like sewing, plant identification, and food security. These self-help care type fields will give our children the best foot forward, especially in their own personal lives. We need to reform our youth physical education standards and offer healthy, fresh-made meals straight from farm to table in all classrooms K through 12. We should also attach nutrition as a curriculum of science. Being in the bodybuilding and personal training the last 5 years, I've learned that nutrition not only dictates how you look, but how you think and feel. So we can mitigate obesity, we can mitigate medical bills, and we can even mitigate mental illness on the back end by teaching our children these vital tools on the front end. I would like to overhaul our infrastructure to meet the demands of our population boom, including our roads, water, and electricity systems. I feel that they're not keeping pace. We need to reform driver education to address Tennessee's ranking the 8th worst state for driving. I think our youth would benefit from maybe a quarter semester class, teach them a little bit of road etiquette and some basic vehicle manners. I want to reduce or remove arbitrary bureaucratic regulations on private property improvements. I don't think you should have a license or a permit for everything you want to do on your own private property. I support banning food products containing phthalates, microplastics, and endocrine disruptors, as these, again, they affect your hormones and how you think, look, and feel. I would also like healthy and beauty products to clearly label those items being in there. I would like to enforce Tennessee's airspace protections and banning intentional weather modification chemicals. We did this in 2024 in the Tennessee State Legislature. However, we do not enforce that. They're still spraying those chemicals overhead every day. I would like to conduct a full investigation into the Department of Children's Services with the possibility of disbanding it. The February 23rd, 26th report of the 2025 audit said that every single night of 2025, a child had to stay in a DCS facility because they failed to have a transition. They had to stay in those facilities. They were being trafficked between transition homes. They were being bid on by prospective adoptees on who was going to adopt them. There were sexual abuse allegations, and those children were failing drug tests for drugs such as methamphetamine. It's a $94 million a year organization that I think needs a lot more accountability and oversight. I want to ensure our voter integrity by exploring alternatives to the electronic ballot system, maybe going back to the paper ballot so we make sure those get counted correctly. I want to legalize cannabis for the recreational and medical use, taxed fairly at the current sales tax rate, but with strict quality control. Prohibit individuals with dual citizenship from holding high offices in Tennessee. I believe if you're beholden to another foreign country, you don't have our best interest at heart. So I support bans on lab-grown meat to protect the local farmer and our food sovereignty. I also support ban on fluoride in our drinking water. I don't think extra added chemicals benefit anyone. If you want fluoride, use fluoridated toothpaste. This campaign is about standing up for we the people. For the hardworking families, farmers, small business owners, and every Tennessean who believes in freedom, real ownership, and a brighter future. Thank you again for being here, for standing with me, and for standing with we the people. Together, we will reclaim our liberty and build a Tennessee that works for all of us. God bless you, God bless Tennessee, and God bless America. Anyone have any questions?
I don't have a question. I just have an agreement. I totally agree with you on the Department of Human Services. They are a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, just a big joke.
Yeah, unfortunately, any kind of unelected organization that has autocratic power, an expanse of power, tends to lose itself within a very short amount of time. An unelected organization that has that type of power to intrude, that has police power, one. I don't think any organization that is not elected should have the power of arrest. They should go through the local sheriff's department for the power of arrest. If they want to do investigations, that's fine. But the power of arrest should be held within the organizations that are elected. And that is the sheriff and its deputies. Because the sheriff is the only real law of the land. They can tell the feds to leave when they come down. So they're the only real law. So I'm just really strict on where we keep that authority. Especially with their system, they violate Section 9 of the Tennessee State Constitution when they allow anonymous phone calls. That's one of my greatest issues with it, is how many state resources are we wasting on anonymous phone calls because someone didn't like someone and wanted to pester them and make their life. And how many times has that inadvertently ruined a good parent and good child's life? You know?
Exactly.
The state can do some pretty wild things when it comes to getting involved with your children. And I think that just should be left to the local sheriff's department, the local judges, ones that are elected officials and have actual oversight.
Yeah, I agree.
I have a question. I didn't hear, I had to walk away for a second, but, with the education, and like the transgenders and stuff in the schools,
Yeah,
like, are we, and like, not only that, but like bullying as well, like that's, I feel like it's a problem.
yeah,
They like encourage.
yeah. So I am absolutely against having social doctrine put in the schools.
Right.
We need to focus specifically on arithmetic and science, history, basic common skills like writing your name in cursive again, being able to sign documents and read documents. I want to eliminate screen-based learning from K to 7th grade because they're showing that even with screen-based learning being used as educational, it's still lowering IQ and lowering attention span. And again, it's not a basic tool. So we need to go back to the basics before we expand into digital anything. And we need to institute civics and ethics for moral reasoning and to understand your government, how it's managed, but also your civic duty to your government. We need our children to understand that we were formed as a constitutional republic, we're not a democracy, and that your civic duty is important to not only to maintain it. Because Benjamin Franklin, they asked him, they said, what do we have now? He said, a republic if you can keep it. So it's not just our elected officials, it's on us to manage our elected officials. So, which requires transparency, and we all know how transparent government is right now. But as far as the transgender stuff, I don't want that in schools. The books should not be available to children. Any sexual books should not be available to children. I absolutely agree with them firing that lady in Murfreesboro. She should have moved those books right there. There is no person with a sane mind on this earth that wants to introduce sexual things to children. Not one sane person. So anyone that wants to give your children the idea of sexualization is trying to sexualize themselves, okay? And that they're sick individuals. So that should absolutely be extinguished from our schools. I don't like the teachers union because they'll hold teachers not accountable for that social doctrine. They'll also, you'll have teachers in there teaching just anything but what they're supposed to as far as curriculum. They're not even willing to teach. But now I've also heard from some of the teachers that have quit teaching at public schools and pulled their children out of public schools because that's their biggest push of homeschool right now is former teachers. And they have told me they're not allowed to teach anymore. They're not allowed to teach the curriculums like they used to. And that's why many of them are quitting. So we have to reform our education to fit the needs of the common man. Our children have a readily accessible, they all have access to our public schools, correct? Not private, but public schools. I don't believe in the voucher system. I feel like, well, I know that 70 to 80% of them that received it were already in private schools, so we shouldn't be rewarding people that can already afford it. But since all our children can go to public schools, then we need to focus on public schools to make them outpace and outperform our private schools. We need vocational agriculture back in those high schools. We need to whittle down that left side where they go technical or university. We need to incentivize that technical side and say, give them more incentives to go through there. Whittle down what they really don't need. Put everything from HVAC, electricity, plumbing, robotics, design, all this stuff. 6 months before they're ready to graduate, we could have contractors coming in, apprenticing these children right out of high school, just like the military does. Give them accredited class, on-the-job training, and get paid. Those children, when you got critical thinking skills, and you have a vested interest in your future, you already got a good idea of what you want to do, then and you got the other building blocks early on with the critical thinking skills, the ethics, the moral reasoning, and we build on into actual production. All right, when they get out of high school, they've got one way to go. You know, they're not guessing, and that's what we've done. We failed our children. We tell them, you know, we pulled back so much in our public schools, and then we've let all these other people come in to artificially raise median incomes, medium education levels and stuff like that. And that's not what we should be doing. We need to depend on our local kids. They should be the ones making change. But I trailed off quite a bit there. But as far as LGBTQ, I'm not for that at all in our public schools. If people want to teach their children that, they need to do that in their home. Okay? That has nothing to do with out in public.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people are pretty sick of the stuff getting pushed in our face. You know, we don't care what you do in your own home. That's between you and God. You know, but what you do in public, you know, you need to have a level of decorum.
Yeah, we need to have just 2 restrooms, a male and a female.
Right.
And that's it.
Well, you can have a
Whatever
family
gender you were
restroom.
born with, it's the gender you need to go to the bathroom.
But yeah, the misgendering bathroom stuff, a biological man is always going to be a biological man. There is absolutely zero reason ever for a biological man to enter the ladies' room, unless it's a medical emergency and you got paramedics running in there because some lady fell. That's about it. There is no other reason, none. Because I'm here to tell you right now, a biological man goes into a bathroom with one of my children there, it's not going to be a great outcome. Anybody else got any questions?
Sure.
I can ask another.
Yeah.
We're very strong about like Christian values.
Yeah.
Like I would like to have the audience.
Absolutely. So, yeah. So one of my favorite sayings: if we had more God in schools, we wouldn't need so many Bibles in prison.
That's right.
So here's my thought on school history, science, and education in that level. Evolution is still a theory. It's not a fact. It's a theory. The Big Bang theory is a theory. They teach these two things as fact in our science classes in high school. So if you're going to do that, fine. I'll give you what you want there, all right? But you're going to put God back in there and put the creation theory in. And you're going to let our children choose and decide, all right? You're going to give them all the information. You're not going to cut out one side. You're going to give them all of it. Because I can guarantee you, when you get a critical thinking child to go through those classes, they're going to pick God every time. Because it makes sense. You cannot make the Big Bang. You cannot make something out of nothing. And there's not one time in human history has water ran across a rock and a human being sprout up off of it. And that is how they look at evolution. It doesn't work. It's not there. Creation is real. Everything that is in that Bible was meant for us as instructions on this earth. And it is the truth. Jesus is king.
King of kings, Lord of lords.
That's right. He is the life, he is the truth, and he is the way. Does anyone else got any questions? What's up, buddy? Oh, we're done. Well, hey, thank y'all so much for coming out and supporting me.